So I wanted to go back to one of the things you mentioned very early on, Molly. And you mentioned you shared the moment where you were like, I don't know why people love these chips. Like somebody sent me an email and like told me why this is so amazing and impactful, but I don't know why. I don't understand the customer. And I can hear this key focal point and this sort of through line through your career around customer empathy and helping people solve problems. And there's a lot of lessons from that and making that a key part of different parts of your career. And I'm also imagining like in sales, I'm thinking of like the friction point between sales and engineering. Oftentimes like feels like there's a disconnect between what's right for the customer versus what is like what engineering wants or what sales wants. And because sales is in conversation with the customer every day. And when the customer says, no, I don't want to purchase your product or platform or whatever, that can be like a really emotional, like, crap, like we lost that. And they're not buying it because we don't have X, Y, or Z. And engineering on the other side may have a certain point of view for like what's right for the product or platform to move forward. And there could be a tension there. And so, but I think the thing that connects all of that is the customer empathy, and that how you align both of them is if you can have an empathy and a clear understanding across both about what's right or what's not for the organization. That's important. We've had a lot of people ask us in some of our small peer groups about my team's scaling really fast. We used to do customer interviews and our engineering team felt really connected. How do you help cultivate customer empathy with the different engineering teams or the different people touching innovation at Cisco as that scales and becomes bigger? Because I think that's one of the challenges that people are facing is as the organization becomes bigger and more abstracted, that connection to that customer pain and creating that empathy becomes harder to do. It's kind of a long wind up for a big question to get to that point, but that seems to be a common friction point between the two groups.
It is. It's all about telling the story. Yeah, how do I convey empathy? And so one of the tools that we use is called a day in the life. Now, back in the day, maybe we still do this, but I remember when I was, a sales engineer, I would go to these internal, conferences at Cisco to learn more about the depths of our products. And one of the sessions that would always be a part of these conferences was a day in the life or a packet walk. And it would be, okay, a packet comes, it's ingress, it goes through the RJ45 port, it hits Maulie's port ASIC, right? And then it, gets arbitrated to this other path and it goes to that port ASIC. And then this happens and it goes to that, because even just from a system and kind of doing a day in the life of a packet was something that is it's always actually really meaningful to understand what's going on. Well, the same can be said for a customer. Let's do a day in the life of a customer. So the way we actually tell a story is to do a day in the life. So for instance, we just started working on a project around how do we actually, post-COVID, really kind of augment the fan experience as they return to the stadiums for a football game or a soccer match or, and one of the reasons that this was instigated is because I have a really smart team in Japan that has really collaborated in the past year over okay, how do we help with the Olympics? How do we ensure that there's safety with the Olympics? What can we do? Things like that. And that kind of instigated this other process around okay, well, now, at some point, someday, we'll all be getting out of our houses. We'll all be going to these events. What happens? And so you start to do the day in the life. Well, I'm going to drive, I live in San Francisco. I'm probably going to be stuck in traffic, but I'm going to drive 2 hours to Levi's. I'm going to go through, I'm going to park. Then I'm going to walk in. There's a security gate. I have to now use a clear bag. I can't have I have to leave my other bag in the car. There's all these things. And there's probably going to be a temperature check or something. I don't know, a COVID health check of some sort, right? And then maybe there's some aspects of social distancing that I have to be mindful of as an event planner, so as I walk in, then what do? I go get a drink. I go sit down at my, or maybe I find my seats first and then I go get a drink, so on and so forth, right? And so it's kind of day in the life. But then being able to place and overlay the pain. What's the pain in doing that? What are the inefficiencies in this day in the life? What is the sequence of events that kind of yields this pain? That's what we do all the time. And so literally is a slide, or sometimes it's actually in Figma. And if we can show kind of the example of a day in the life in terms of a mock-up. But that's what we use often to convey a story. And sometimes it's like with fun cartoon characters and stuff like that. So that way you're kind of abstracting like your perception of real people, and you're, kind of able to get to the heart of the matter, which is the pain.
Very timely insights for for ourselves as well. And this is the first time I heard of this approach.
It's such a useful tool, because you can. I mean, now it's like I feel like we use a day in the life to articulate. Like when I go travel now to see my mom, my partner and I'd be like, okay, day in the life. So we're gonna get there. I'm gonna drop you off. I don't want you to take a lift. Just be on the safe side. You're gonna get there. You're gonna put on your N95 mask. You're gonna put on your face shield. And just make sure you have your ID. Like, and it's kind of like the sequencing. It's like kind of like a checklist manifesto, but you're like going through. We do this all the time. It's a great way to tell a story.